The timing for this video couldn't have been any better. The SYKOV pistols released yesterday, and on our main channel, we made a lot of content covering the stats for the gun, comparing it to other weapons, and going over what the best class setups are. And in this video, we're going to be ranking all the secondary weapons to let you know which ones are the best, so you can run them with your Ghost or Restock class. If you enjoy videos like this, tier list videos on weapons, and on top of that, if you just like Warzone content in general, subscribe to this channel. This is our second channel where we make tons more content for you, and we will be live streaming on this channel as well with some Warzone gameplays. So first, like I said, we're going to rank these guns, and then after that, we'll go over the class setups for some of my favorites, and I'll explain how you should use each one of these guns. But first we have the 1911. Now, I think this is the Modern Warfare version of the 1911, and honestly, you can use it, but I don't think it's as good as some of the other options that are available. You can use this, and I think it's got slightly more ammo than the Cold War variant, so I think I'm going to put it in situation based, because it is a decent gun, but it's not going to be as versatile as some of the other options here, and it's not something I would personally go out my way to use or unlock. Then we've got the 357, which if you run them with the SNAKESHOT ammo and akimbo, I do still think they're pretty viable, even inside Warzone. They're nowhere near as good as what they once were, which is definitely true, but you could still get away with using these in Warzone. They're definitely a viable option. They pretty much work like a weaker shotgun. So if you do want a secondary weapon that's basically a shotgun, you can still run these, and I'll give you what the best class setup is near the end of this video. Then we have, is this the Sigma? I can't really tell between the Sigma, the Pila, the Strela. I don't know what the differences are between those three. But I do believe some of these are pretty good for taking out vehicles. Now, I do think the Sigma is the one that locks on. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but I don't really use launchers in this game. So the one that locks on, I'm not a really huge fan of because it's not really that versatile. So I would definitely put it down here because using it against vehicles is pretty good, but using it against maybe enemy players, if you really are in a tough spot, is not going to get you out of that. Then we have the Cold War 1911s. I'm not even sure what gun this is. This is the Cold War 1911s, I'm pretty sure. And again, not a huge fan of the 1911s overall. Don't think it's that great of a gun. So again, I'm going to put it in situation based. I do not pick it up over akimbo SNAKESHOT pistols because they're just not that good. Then we have the Magnums, and the Magnums are just terrible. Single, they're terrible, and even if you run them akimbo, I think they're terrible as well. You need to be really accurate with these, especially if you're running them in akimbo, and I just don't think they're viable. Then we have the Deagles, and I just remember the Gulags, where you have the akimbo Deagles and Gulags, and you pretty much land none of your shots. So honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the akimbo Deagles, or even a single one. I don't think it's that great either, so I would not pick up either of these two guns. They're both just as bad as each other. Then we have a Diamatti pistol, and I think the Diamatti is a great option. Now, I don't think it's as powerful as the SYKOVs, of course, because they're pretty much OP right now, but you can run these akimbo, and you can run these as single as well, and it works well either which way you put it, because this gun is definitely a great option, and it's pretty much almost a primary weapon if you're really good at using them. So I think the Diamatti pistols are definitely up there. Then we have the Joker. I'm putting the Joker in situation based because you can clear enemies off rooftops with this launcher, and like I said, it is good for, like I said, taking people off the top of downtown buildings or the top of stadium or something like that, or even the top of a superstore. You can still use this. Not the best launcher still in my opinion, but like I said, definitely a great option still. But I would only use it if I've seen it as a ground loot, to be completely honest. I would not put it in my loadout. Then we have the dual M19s, or even a single M19 is pretty good too. And like I said, I would put this in great alongside the akimbo SNAKESHOTs, because I don't think it's as good as the Diamatti pistols. They kill much quicker. But I do think they're still pretty viable inside Warzone. If you do land your headshots, they can be pretty good. You don't get that headshot multiplier with the Diamatti pistols, so that is where the M19s do come into things here. So like I said, I would recommend the M19s, either akimbo or by themselves. Now, again, we're getting onto these launchers, which I don't really know much about. So I think this is another one of those lock-on launchers. So again, I would put it down here. I wouldn't really use it. The Renettis are great, again, in akimbo or a single gun, but I do think the Diamattis are slightly better. I don't know why, but the Diamattis do just feel overall better in my opinion. Maybe it's just the movement is quicker because you can strafe a lot faster with Cold War weapons. So maybe that's why the Diamattis feel better to me. But like I said, they're definitely still viable. You can still get away with using these as well, whether it's single or in the akimbo version. RPGs, both of them are great. As a secondary weapon, again, I wouldn't choose it over the Diamatti pistols just because of my playstyle. But considering inside solos and duos and how prominent the vehicle meta is right now, I think the RPG can be really useful. And the RPG is the only one that can take out enemies as well if they're on foot. So like I said, this could be a good option because it's pretty much a one-hit kill, I'm pretty sure, if you land a direct hit. Again, one of those lock-on launchers, I'm putting it down here. SYKOVs, definitely number one. These are like the best pistol or secondary weapon in the game right now, especially if you run them in akimbo. And again, in the single variant, you could use it as well. They're very viable both ways, but the akimbo SYKOVs are pretty much OP right now, so that's why you want to run these in akimbo. X16, situation based, again, it's decent alongside the 1911s and all that kind of stuff. Definitely not that good. You could run them in akimbo with attachments and stuff, but like I said, it's not going to be that great compared to the ones above it right here. But it's definitely an option over these right here. So if I had a starting X16 pistol, I would keep it over any of these down here, and I would also keep it over the Thumper as well. I do think the Thumper is a bit better than any of these options, so I'll put it right here next to all of these guns, but it's kind of in between these two last options here. But like I said, I have gotten some kills with this, especially on foot enemies, so it is not a bad option. And this brings me on to one of the kind of points I want to quickly talk about, is that I do think that the crossbows should be a secondary weapon inside Warzone, because they're not that great as primary weapons, but as a secondary weapon, I do think they'll either sit right here in the great category or even in the almost primary category, and it will give some variation to the secondary options. Now we're moving on to some great class setups for some of these guns, and of course we'll start off with the SYKOV pistol, because this is pretty much the most overpowered secondary weapon in the game right now. So for attachments, we have done a lot of testing on this, so you can run this a couple of different ways actually. So we'll go over what I believe to be kind of what everyone would run. So you want the mono suppressor on there, the auto barrel, the 80 round drum mags. You actually want to use the Elita grip and not the 5mm laser, because this actually helps with hipfire accuracy more than the 5mm laser does, believe it or not. And if you want to see a full breakdown of how this actually works, you could check out our main channel, and we'll leave a link to that video in the description down below. And then lastly, of course, you want to use the akimbo perk, and this would be the best class setup if you're trying to stay silenced. Now, if you want to make sure you get the best hipfire accuracy possible, full stop, then swap that mono suppressor out for the compensator, and this class setup would give you the best recoil control or hipfire accuracy, whatever you want to call it, for the akimbo SYKOV pistols. And again, this is that same video we done testing on. You can check that out in the link in the description. But if you want to run these single, you can remove the akimbo attachment, keep the compensator, and keep this exact build right here. Or you could run the mono suppressor, and then you can either add on the 5mm laser as well on top of that, or you can add on an optic, which is what I would do, so you can actually see a little bit better. Until the sleight of hand perk gets fixed, I would use an optic, but once the sleight of hand perk does get fixed, I would use that, of course, so you can reload much quicker. But the triggers here don't actually help all that much besides the heavy trigger, so you could use this one to give you a faster aim down sight time and a faster sprint to fire time, and run it this way as well. So this is the way I would personally run it. But like I said, you could put an optic on there, or you could put a 5mm laser on there. It's definitely personal preference when it comes down to that. But this is the way I would run a single SYKOV pistol. Moving on to the Diamatti pistol now. Again, you could run this in a couple of different ways, but we'll show you the akimbo way first. So you want to use the agency suppressor, the task force barrel, the 5mm laser, the 30 round mags or the 30 round salvo mags, because this is going to give you the fastest reload as well as the largest mags possible. And in the akimbo attachment, you don't get any cons to aim down sight time and stuff like that with the 5mm laser, so this would be the best akimbo way. And if you wanted to run this weapon single, so without the akimbo attachments, then the best way I would run this is with a rear grip. So you want to use the serpent wrap for the faster ADS time, and you want to use the steady aim laser so it doesn't affect your aim down sight time. And you could swap the steady aim laser out for an optic, or you could even go for that infantry compensator as well to help with the vertical recoil. You can also use that attachment as well, which would help out quite a bit. But personally, I think most people would go for this build right here if you're running it as a single weapon. Lastly, we're going to talk about the SNAKESHOT pistols, and for this one, you definitely want to run it in akimbo. Is the only way this gun actually works out any decent, because the rate of fire is a bit too slow to run a single weapon. Then for ammunition, you need that SNAKESHOT ammo, of course, because it's going to increase your damage radius. That is kind of the whole point in the SNAKESHOT ammo, and that is what makes it much more forgiving and allows you to use it as a secondary weapon without having to worry too much about landing precise shots. Then you want to use the 5mm laser on this one. This is definitely going to help out the most. Then for your barrel, you actually want to use the silver ordnance barrel. Now, before we used to use the long barrel, but this hurts your movement speed now and doesn't give you as much of a damage range and bullet velocity that you used to. So you want to use a silver ordnance barrel instead. And then lastly, you want to use a lightweight trigger so you can get a faster fire rate. And this is going to be the best build for the akimbo SNAKESHOTs if you're running them as a secondary weapon. So there you have it. There are the best secondary weapons that you can use currently inside Warzone. We've ranked all of the weapons, and we've also given you some class setups that you can use in this video as well. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, as we're trying to reach our goal of 100 subscribers on this channel. And also make sure you click that like button if you enjoyed this video as well. And thank you very much for watching.